very special guest with us today. This is Bobby from Rival Booking. He's responsible for putting on a lot of metal and hardcore shows around the Richmond, D.C. metro area, and he's here to answer questions that you submitted. People in bands asking things like, how do we get on our first show? How do we transition from one scene to another? That kind of thing. But if you're not in a band and you're thinking about doing what he does, stick around because we're also going to get into some of the back-end mechanics. Things like what's going on in his head during show day, what happens before, what happens after, that kind of thing. So without further ado, Bobby, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, brother. I appreciate you. Space is looking dope, bro.
Thank you. That makes me feel like $1 million, like I'm doing something right. Right. Do you want to just give like a quick lowdown for anybody that might not know like what the definition or function of the promoter is?
Yeah, for sure. So, I do Rival Booking. It's book a lot of punk, hardcore, even some shoegaze, whatever. Basically, my job is to organize a herd of cats and get 4 or 5 bands together on the same day and play a sick show, get people in. You know what I mean? A lot of work goes into it.
Yeah, that sounds simple on the surface.
It really does. I'll tell you, I have I've been in bands for on and off 20 years, right? I've never been on the promoter side of things until I started this. And as a matter of fact, January 22nd, 2024 is the first time we met.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's right.
It is.
Shout out Drive-By Bukkake. What's up?
Yeah.
And I've found that I have a much more appreciation of the people that used to book my dumbass when I was a kid running around, because a ton of work goes into the back end, man. You know what I mean? And I've grown to appreciate that, right?
Good. All right. Well, if you want to answer some of those questions, if you'd be so kind, some of the questions that came in from an ad that I put out there saying, look, I got some really important people coming in. Oh, and by the way,
shucks.
This is part 1 of a 3-part series with promoters, just to get some different perspectives and stuff. So Bobby's here with Rival Booking, and then a few others will be not one after the other, but they'll be spaced out a little bit. So this is part 1. So yeah, all right. Well, that's cool. I have to, in order to do this, I got to put these on. Oh, man. I swore to myself, like, never, ever be on camera with those glasses on. But I'm afraid I have no choice. So, all right. Well, this is from DeCorvos. Shout out DeCorvos on TikTok. He asks, what do agents actually care about? I've heard Spotify monthly listeners, total ticket draw, social media followers, but what is the main thing that's a make or break for an agent?
So that's a great question, man. I feel like every agent probably has a different perspective of this depending on the type of venue they're booking at, right? What I'm looking for booking at Banditos, which is a 120 cap club in Richmond, is not the same thing as what a place that's 300-400 cap is looking for, right? If you're a smaller band and you're on tour for the first time, social media numbers and Spotify plays mean less and less nowadays.
Wow.
Well, I mean, not for nothing. There's a lot of people that use body counts to bop those Spotify numbers and Instagram numbers up, or just because you have 5,000 Instagram followers and you're from Ohio doesn't mean anybody's going to come out in Virginia, right? On my end, I'm just looking for something I think slaps. I've given bands opportunities that have less than 1,000 followers on Instagram. I've booked bands that have 10,000, 12,000 followers. For me, it's all about what I think is going to fit on what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I book different genres. So like I have bands that hit me up all the time from across the spectrum, which I think is fucking cool shit, right? And I'm just looking for something that's going to fit. People that are going to come out, people that are already coming out to shows, people that are a part of the scene, people that are trying to contribute to the growth of the community. That's what I'm looking for. You know what I mean? But for bigger clubs, if you're a known act, obviously those Spotify numbers and Instagram followers and your TikTok followers, all that does make a difference for those bigger clubs, But as an indie band, you just got to be out there. That's the biggest thing, is be out there, make your presence known. Just be playing local shows, going to shows, supporting your friends, supporting the people who put on stuff that you like, supporting the bars that you like to go to. That's what people like me are looking for. You know what I mean?
All right. So it is that, like, yeah, we're active right now. Not, we played our last show, a year and a half ago or something like that. And we're just, okay, all right, I got it.
Yeah.
I don't want to put words in your mouth and everything, but okay.
But I mean, even like, sometimes for me, it's tough to give a new band a shot just because I do like maybe I'm shooting for 25, 30 shows this year, right? And if it's all different genres, I'm trying to get at least some people to come out, because most of the touring bands that I book are regional touring acts, right? I don't book a ton of signed bands, or if they're signed on a smaller label. So they're just as dependent, those types of bands are just as dependent on the local draw as the local bands are to play in front of these touring bands fans. You know what I mean? So sometimes that's kind of a tough line to walk as a promoter, because I want to give everybody a shot, but I also want to give a good opportunities for the touring bands to make sure that they're playing in front of a bunch of people, and that they're going to have a good time and play in front of an appreciative crowd, you know?
And I think that's such a good point that I didn't think about it before when you said just because you got 5,000 followers or whatever it is, if you're popular in your region doesn't mean that you may be necessarily a giant draw in another part of the country or something like that.
Dude, I had a band out in 2024. I'm not going to mention any names. They threw all these crazy social media numbers out at me. I checked them out. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. They brought nobody out. I had 12 people paid, and it was brutal. I ate my balls on that show.
Damn. Oh, man.
So, I mean, those numbers are misleading, right? They don't necessarily tell the whole story of what this band brings to the table or what they don't bring to the table, you know? So just for me personally, I'm just looking for bands that sound good and that are going to fit in with not only the style of shows I'm doing, but also the ethic that I try and put behind these shows. You know what I mean? Which is community and being a team player, being cool, being open-minded, and not being a chud, basically.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Okay, all right. Okay, that's valuable. And you put a couple things into my head that I want to ask about, but as promised, I'll stick to the script for right now. So, DeCorvos, thank you very much for the question. Yes. Okay, also from TikTok, this was from Midnight, MIDKNIGHT.
All right. Clever.
Yes. Midnight writes, what all would it take to book a smallish venue for a band who has just started and is in the process of making some demos? Because we'd like to do a small demo show after we make a couple demos. And then he plugs his band. FYI, our name's Enyo, ENYO.
Okay.
I know the other members. I don't know the other members' ats, so here's the guitarist. And his at is at Spivy, SPIVY. But yeah, it sounds to me like he's asking about what the hell is your question, Midnight?
No, I kind of get what he's saying. So it sounds like they're a newer band and they're trying to set up a record release for themselves, and that's totally cool. And that's what's up. You know, it's hard to do that if you don't have a ton of traction in your local scene. I think in that case, your best bet is to hook up with a band that's known and see if they could kind of help you in the right direction when it comes to making those venue contacts, right? Because again, every bar is different, but most bars are looking to make sure that you're going to bring people out, right? Some clubs, they have like a fee to pay. As a promoter, you're paying for the sound guy, you're paying for security, whatever. Some clubs have low overhead, some clubs have high overhead. The clubs with the lower overhead are reliant on people bringing people out to spend money at the bar, to spend money at the kitchen if they have one. So if you're a brand new band, it's kind of tough to get a venue or promoter to respond to you, right? So I would say in that case, just try and link up with a band that's at least a little bit established. Have them headline and then do your record release, hook up some of your other buddies on a show and make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, and I've definitely seen flyers in my time, I'm sure you have too, where the band that was putting it was their record release, but they weren't the headliner, though. You just saw it in the subtext, whatever it was, EP release, record release, and everything. And okay, so people shouldn't feel like they're reducing themselves or anything.
No, not at all. I mean, if you're a brand new band and you're only bringing a couple of your friends out, how you gonna headline?
Sure, okay.
Right? Find somebody that's going to play above you, that's going to keep people the whole night. You know what I mean? That way people are sticking around for the whole show. The bar's happy. They're going to remember your new band. Like, oh, yeah, that's right. They had their record release party here. They brought a bunch of people out. You know what I mean? That I would say that's how you do that.
You are making me remember. I could be getting some of these shows like all blurred together in my head, but Ramala's first show.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Love that band.
Oh, yeah. At the UU church was it in Might have been in might have been in Brockton. For anybody in New England, that's, if you're watching this, you know, you might be thinking like, no, it's this place. How could you ever forget that? How could you ever forget that place? You know, it was Romala's first show. Jake Bannon actually was there.
That's sick.
Yeah, because you did vocals on the first EP and everything. So that was. Oh man, I want to get into that and everything. But I know it was like some people might be watching, be like, who the hell's Romala? Who's Jake Bannon?
You got to check all that out. Yeah, I mean, not to get totally unrelated. Have you seen the Poison the Well and Converge?
Yes, yeah.
Dude, I got to go up to that show up in not Massachusetts, Maryland.
That's where it is, Maryland?
Yeah, it's like the day after United Blood in Richmond.
Oh,
Gotta go. Gotta see all those bands.
Soundstage in Maryland?
Don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I forget.
Yeah, I saw that tour. That's a
I saw the flyer. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll figure that out.
Yeah, because I missed them. The last opportunity I had to see Poison the Well was Psycho Las Vegas 21, and I missed their set for like whatever reason. I think it's because it might have been Integrity who was playing at the main stage. It might have been like one of those situations.
Choice,
I know, yeah. Yeah, because it was like, all right, see Poison the Well or see Integrity inside an arena. Yeah, that was a crazy
yeah.
You know, so pretty nuts. All right, okay. Thank you, Midnight, very much for the question. The next person who submitted was, this was from the homie. You know what? That was more of like a comment. We'll get to that in a second. But okay. On Instagram, A_bomb_D asks, please ask for any suggestions for booking gigs that are way out of town, like in other states, if you don't really have a following there or know anyone there. Yeah.
That's tough. Before I did Rival, I've been in bands. I've toured all over the place. It's getting harder and harder to find out-of-state markets if you've never been out there before. You know what I mean? Just because there's so many bands that are trying to tour, there's so much music out there, and there's only so many clubs and so many promoters that want to take a risk on a band coming from way out of town. As a promoter, it costs money every time you do a show, right? And you can't just lose money every time because it doesn't work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Right. I hate making it sound like a business thing, but at the end of the day, it kind of is. That's tough. I wish I had a better answer for that. I always found that when we were trying to hit new markets, we would try and link up with some band out there. But obviously, that's not always going to be the case for everybody. Not everybody's got that kind of opportunity. Just plug away. You know what I mean? Reach out to every promoter that you could find. If you have one city in mind and it doesn't work out, just pivot to the next city. There's plenty of other places to play. There's a ton of A markets, B markets, C markets out there. Everybody's hungry for shows. It's just knowing when to not rely too much on one guy if he's not getting back to you and just moving on to something else.
So does that kind of mean stay local and slowly branch out? Like don't jump too far too quickly. Just like build up your presence locally and let, the classic stuff, word of mouth travel.
So, I always came from the mindset like being regional first before you're trying to drive 15 hours out of the way on your first tour. Okay. And I'm not saying that you can't do that. Dude, there's plenty of bands that have hit me up for their first run. I've booked them. It's been cool. I always found that it was better to kind of build up that base in the region. Is that there's a ton of places that you could play that are probably within 3 to 4 hours from your house. And you could book 4 or 5 day runs all over the place to working with your work schedule and whatever else you got to do. Because anybody that's on the low rung of playing in bands probably got other shit to do. You know what I mean? Like you're going out on the weekends anyway, right? So I've always found it was best to kind of just focus on the region that I could work out of. You know what I mean? Like find closer bands that may have heard of your band, something that's not so far out of the way that a promoter looks at this and goes, well, these guys have 800 followers and they're from 15 hours away. What are they going to do for us? And I know that sounds kind of jaded, but unfortunately, I feel like that's how a lot of people look at it. Like, that was my experience even long before I started booking shows,
Do you think, to kind of like add to that a little bit, do you think one strategy could be growing pretty well on your socials to the point where you are you're confident that you got listeners and fans in other regions that you haven't played to yet, and Is it risky to rely on that though to kind of think it's like, all right, based on our because everybody's able to pull up data and deep analytics and stuff if you're a band, you look at the insights and all that kind of stuff, and you could see geographically like where people are spinning your stuff and everything. So like, but unless though that you have like dedicated fans that are part of a scene in different regions, is it kind of risky to rely on just like data that you pull up on your smartphone and everything?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Dude, when you're on tour, you might play in front of 5 people. It is what it is, right? That's the risk you take when you're going out there and betting on yourself as a band.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You might get lucky. You might get linked up with some dope locals and play in front of 50, 100 kids. And you might go the next day and play in front of 5 people. I've been doing that shit for years, man.
Okay. I know I've seen bands from like far away that I really, really wanted to see, but getting to the show and there's like really not a ton of people like for their set and everything.
Right.
And yeah, so that's okay. Yeah. So that tells me from like real life experience then that you can't just rely on raw data that you might have that suggests one thing, but you gotta know.
And honestly, if you really have no way to tell who is part of that data set. You know what I mean?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it could be a bunch of people that don't come out to local shows and aren't checking your Instagram all the time. You know what I mean? Like you look at the big gap between like the big touring bands that come through to Canal Club and the shows you see at like the Camel or Banditos or Gallery 5. And there's a big difference of people, but they all live in Richmond. You know what I mean? And they're all listening to heavy shit. It's just, as an indie band, you're really relying on somebody else to get the word out there for you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because you can't rely on that raw data. At least I don't think you can.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking about the times. I have not gone to a ton of shows like since I've lived in Virginia. Like the first couple that I went to were like big bands. Yeah, I went to the Broadberry.
Yeah, great spot.
Broadberry. Like Obituary played there. It was the tour with like Immolation, and then it was good time.
Sick.
And then I saw Waste. Again, Municipal Waste,
yeah,
local favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Also at was that at the Broadberry? That was, I'm sorry, the Obituary and Immolation show was at Canal Club.
Okay. Yeah,
really
I
cool
think I
venue.
remember that show. Yeah,
really cool venue. And then Municipal Waste and Obituary was at Broadberry, And that was my first impression of like the scene around here. And of course, those are big bands. There's a lot of people at that, but it those weren't the local shows. Like that wasn't Doomhauer or Delusion, or even Banana Slammer and everything, So that's, I get what you're saying. Cause that's a completely different experience.
Dude, I wish I knew how to tap into those people, man. Like the people that only go out to Canal Club and only go out to the Nationals. Like, how do I get you that'll come out for a band that's got 100,000 Spotify plays every month? How do I get you to my local club to check out these cool bands that I'm bringing into town that you'd probably like, but just don't know about?
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
I think that's my biggest challenge, man. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, I mean that's a good question because you figure like somebody that's going to see Obituary would probably love like say, or let's keep it thrash, Municipal Waste, right? They'd probably love Vigil,
Yeah.
Like they're from Richmond, I think, right?
Yeah.
Like Vigil, that
Shout
type
out
of
Vigil.
thing. Yeah. No, I saw them a couple months ago, and I was really impressed. I love that girl's voice to sing. She reminds me of Zetro from Exodus, and like,
hell yeah.
I told her that, and I've said that in a bunch of different interviews. So I don't know if she's seen them all. She's probably sick. Like, all right, enough with the Steve Zetro comparison, all right, cool. And then let's just Now this is more of a comment, but I'm sure a question could be extracted from it. I think this person they were intending to ask a question, but
sure.
Devour1 on Instagram writes, I'm an alternative hip-hop artist that mixes hardcore and metal. I've been wanting to do more shows with hardcore or metal bands. I'm thinking like E-Town Concrete. I don't know. It's like, you know what I mean? First thing that popped into mind. I have some ties to the New York hardcore and metal scene, just trying to get out there. So I think he seems to be asking, how do I actually get on the bills if my sound is a little bit unorthodox from,
Yo, honestly, that's a dope question, bro. I have always been of the mindset that hip hop and hardcore go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can't like Madball and not like Wu-Tang.
Right.
It doesn't work. Like, what kind of freaking savage are you, man? It's like, I don't even understand that. Personally, that's something I would love to do. I feel like I would need a fest kind of thing to work it in to where I could do like 3-4 hip hop acts, 3-4 hardcore metal bands. You know what I mean? It's not something that I would be against because I think it's really cool. I think it's just you got to pick your spots with that. You know what I mean? But if he's trying to get out there, it goes back to what I was saying earlier, man. Just come out to shows, introduce yourself, hand out demos. Like that's how you're going to get known to people that are booking the shows out here who could open up those doors for you. You know?
That is really interesting because I'm thinking about some of the, let's say, bigger, I can't even call them shows, I call them concerts that have featured, that have been, primarily, let's say, rock, okay, or metal, that have featured like a rapper of some sort. And the difference between what you just described versus these shows is that these shows are only one act. Okay, first time I ever witnessed anything like that was 2002. Guns N' Roses on Axl's kind of like comeback tour.
Okay.
He had Mix Master Mike with them.
Sick.
Right? Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. And then once again, I never shut up about that goddamn Psycho Festival. Jizza was there.
Sick.
Jizza was there,
Hell yeah.
But the thing of it is, though, is that like those were only single acts. What you just described is really cool. It would be like, a number of like hardcore bands and then like rappers and stuff.
Dude, I'll tell you, I seen a Nicholas F. and Division of Mind at Cobra Cabana a couple years ago, and it was fucking packed, dude. There was like,
I don't even know them.
Yo, Nicholas F.'s local hip hop dude, Division of Mind, a great Richmond hardcore band.
Okay.
And this place was packed, and it was very mixed genre, dude. And like I thought it was really cool. I think there's more opportunities for that. It's just people got to be willing to dip their toe in the pool. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think that's probably hardcore's more conducive for like, or that's more conducive for like hardcore versus like, people going to immolation might not appreciate,
Exactly right.
that type of thing.
Yeah.
Do you know Little Ugly Mane? Do you know that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
He's like somewhat local or something like that, I think. Yeah, I didn't know that until recently. I was like, oh shit. I'm like, I love Little Ugly. And like, he's like from like around here and stuff.
Hell yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Mr. Thug Isolation.
Dude, I not for nothing, man. I love hip hop. That was like, I grew up in New York, man, Long Island kid. It was one of those things where it's like, if you didn't fuck with Biggie and Wu-Tang, it's just like, who are you, bro? It's like, we need to know you. But also coming up in the hardcore scene, like I said, I feel like those two genres go hand in hand. Maybe not everywhere, but where I came up, you couldn't have one without the other. I think it's a sick idea. It's something that I've kind of played around with for a little bit. I just need to find a way to execute that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Man, like a festival like that was billed as such, I think would be so much fun, like an equal parts. Like
I need space for that in town, dude.
Yeah.
I don't have anybody that'll let me do 10 bands in a day.
Yeah, that's true. And I can't really think of any place in Fredericksburg, that the short bus guys may know, like that type of thing. Man, it's so funny though when you talk about bands that are considered hardcore but that do rap though, it brings to mind, I'll never forget this. All right, my 18th birthday. Hatebreed plays in my hometown, Nashua, New Hampshire, right?
Sick.
Yeah. It was an 18+ club, okay? So it just happened to fall on that day, and I loved Hatebreed. I still love them now,
Right.
It's Hatebreed, Sworn Enemy, Death Threat. It was. There's one band that I'm leaving out. I'll get to it in a second, but it was those three. It was one of Unearth's like very, very first shows.
Okay,
like they had not been together for all that long beforehand, and the sort of like, I don't want to call them an odd man out, and I definitely wouldn't say that to their face because I witnessed somebody say it, and it didn't go over too well. But it was E-Town Concrete.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, and it was Adam 22 from the Come Up, from No Jumper. You'd know who he is. You know who he is. Yeah. We went to that show. We've been to a million shows together and everything, right? But he and I were standing there, and one of our other friends approaches the singer of E-Town, right? And our friend was like, he was a rapper, okay? He was very, very good lyricist, flow and all that. And he said, hey man, I just, I want to say that I really appreciate you for what you're doing for rap metal, right? And the E-Town singer, I felt so bad for the kid. He's like, thanks, but we're not fucking rap metal. Or I think he might have said like rap core or something like that. And like my heart broke.
That's a very Ant Money thing to say.
I know, right? I don't even want to say the kid's name and everything because I just like, I bet he still lives with it today and everything. And he was like a great kid.
Shadow shame deep down inside.
Yeah.
Every now and again, he's like trying to go to bed and he just flashes back to like making a crack to Ant Money. Like, oh, goddamn,
Right.
why did I do that, dude? Eternal shame.
Yeah, I had the opposite experience though because like I was a huge fan at the again still am a sworn enemy, and I met Sal before the show and I was like, Sal, you guys playing Disbelief tonight? And he's like, we really don't play that song anymore. Like, damn, like it's my birthday and everything. And like all of a sudden, like they get up there, like, all right, we're shouting out our homie Joe. He's 18 today. This one's for you. And they played Disbelief. I was like, oh,
that's sick, dude.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yo, man, that was one of those bands for me growing up. They were
really?
huge, dude. Sworn Enemy. Yeah, it's from Queens, bro.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
dude. Like they were one of the first bands I used to go see back in the day. Sal's a great dude. Paulie No Neck, rest in peace. Yo, my boy Danny LaMagna was playing drums for them for a while. He was in Biohazard too, which was pretty fucking cool.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, like after, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
okay.
later tours and stuff. But yeah, he was in Sworn Enemy for a while, man. I was actually in their music video when I was like 15 years old, bro.
Which one?
As Real as It Gets.
Oh, you were in that video?
Yeah. Me and the whole gang went down to that. Shit was crazy, bro. They took over like a basketball court and a handball court to shoot the video, and we were just out there all day, man, just hanging out, chilling, doing wild young kid shit, you know, and just watching them play. Well, actually watching them lip sync with live drums for like 72 times. But dude, it was awesome, man. Sick experience. I see all my friends in that video every time I watch it.
Yeah, you don't forget something like that.
Nah, man, it's sweet.
You don't forget that. I swear, I got no way to prove it, but at least in my head it's real, that on the back of the Wasted Youth Brew Blood for Blood kind of like reunion, whatever, they hadn't played for a year, a month, and a day because White Trash Rob on the album says that. It's like I went to the show, right? It was at the Middle East in Cambridge and everything, and I swear on the back cover, I'm like, oh, that's me right there. Like, you know, might not be, but like
it definitely is, dude.
Yeah. That was one of those shows where I remember it was like, there haven't been many, but I'm like, if I step in the wrong direction, I'm dead. There's no way. And yeah, and it wasn't even during their set. I mean, believe me, that was bad, but it was during Diecast's set.
I remember Diecast.
Yeah.
That's OG, man. Yeah, well, not for nothing. That's always what's been my favorite part about hardcore is the imminent danger that you're always in at a show. Like, I've caught my lumps. I've seen people get like tables thrown at them. And being in bands that play that type of music, there's nothing more fun than watching people throw shit at each other while you're playing. That is the sickest feeling. That is the sickest feeling.
Yeah, that's got to be a different experience when like it's one thing to be out there like avoiding stuff or this or that, or maybe, you're involved in everything. But when you're on, I gotta believe when you're on stage, it's like, that's probably.
It's the best. Yeah, it's like, wow. Oh, okay, our riffs are hard. Cool.
Oh, man. I told the kids from Delusion and Buck Goose last week, I said,
shout out Buck Goose.
Yeah. I said to Brent, I was like, I have not felt like dread during a set like in a long time. You know what I mean? It was like, but I felt a little bit uneasy like during your set. But I mean, then again, I was standing on the edge of the pit, and stuff,
right?
So it's like,
dude, I feel like I don't get that anymore. But that's because I've gracefully aged into with my arms crossed, drinking an IPA in the back of the room, level hardcore kid. But back in the day, I know exactly what you meant, man. Dude, so I saw you like Candiria?
Yeah.
Candiria is one of my favorite bands ever, dude. I got to see their secret. They had broken up for a bunch of years. Kenny Shock moved out to LA, and my buddy who was in Doomsday Morning with me wound up taking over the drum spot.
Oh, no way.
For Candiria. Yeah, dude, you ever see that movie Rockstar with Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah.
He did that.
Oh,
yeah, my boy Danny did that. He became the drummer of his favorite fucking band ever, right? So it's his first show. They're playing Lucky 13 Saloon in Brooklyn. And it was one of these things where, like, if you got the text message, you were there.
Oh, okay.
And if you didn't get the text message, you saw it on social media the next day and you were big mad about it, right?
Okay, yeah.
That was one of those shows where it's like, oh, you know that meme with the kid from The Simpsons, like, haha, I'm in danger, right? Yeah. That's how I felt, dude. Oh, really? I was like, oh, I'm in danger. There's a lot of big fellas in here tonight, bro.
Wow.
But even growing up in New York, man, when you were like 16-year-old kid going to shows and there was like 30-year-old dudes in puffer jackets and Timberlands with 3 felonies throwing spin kicks into your fucking orbital socket.
Right.
Dangerous, bro. But at the same time, if you survive those early shows, you're a lifer, dude. You're coming back because either that scared the shit out of you, or you're like, oh, this rules. I'm never going to stop.
Yeah.